All right, Kobe, let's take a look at this piece you sent. I like this for a number of reasons. I love it when we have road access. I like it when we have houses in the middle of the place. What we have are areas of known human activity. The deer are used to people traveling this road. They're used to people in this yard. They're used to people in this yard. They're used to people in this yard. And they're used to traffic on this road as well. What that means is that gives us the freedom to move through certain parts of this property that if it was all just wooded timber, we wouldn't be able to do. The number one problem we have when we hunt deer repeatedly on a property is if we surprise them with our sight, sound, and smell, they don't like that. Deer don't like being surprised. It doesn't surprise them to see, hear, or smell people here. It doesn't surprise them here, 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 and it doesn't surprise them on the roads that cut through our property. They know people are going to be using those areas, so if they see, hear, or smell us, we're close to those areas, they kind of expect that. They're a little more forgiving of it. Conversely, we get way over here on this part of the property where nobody ever goes except during hunting season. And if the deer are constantly being surprised by residual odor when they move through there after dark, after we've gone back after hunting, it makes them leery of the spot. They start to avoid it. They might become nocturnal. They might even leave our property. So we got a bunch of great jumping points between the roads and the houses here. What we also have is enough topography. I measured out a couple spots here that, we look at this spot here up the top of this ridge was 594, and when I come back down to the bottom, it's 528. We have enough topography here, and the woods look consistent enough that all things being equal, topography will dictate where deer are going to bed. And the deer are going to bed in different spots in topographic regions like this with elevation. They're going to bed in different spots for every single wind. But the one thing they always do is they try to bed on the leeward side of a slope. They find a flat spot as close to the top as they can. They find a little back cover, a little side cover. That's where they're going to set up shop. Because the swirling winds coming over the top of that ridge allows them to detect that danger, disappear down below without being seen. And when they're perched up like on top of that knob there and they can see down below, if we try cutting in there with our face into the wind, if they're laying up on top of that knob and we're trying to walk in this way, they're intentionally set up where they can see what's down on this bottom. So they get up and walk over the top of that hill and disappear. We don't even know it. So a lot of times, when deer have this topography and we're not factoring that in, those deer know what we're doing, and they're setting up on the spots to see what they're doing. So your challenge, what we do is if on a skeleton plan or a regular plan on this property, those are the things we're going to build in. We're going to take advantage of those areas of known human activity, the roads and the houses. That becomes a place for our access and exit. It also becomes a safe place for our scent to blow, right? Because we know we can get there, that's where we're going to put our food plots. Food plots is the bulk of the hunting season, right? Food plots can be used to anchor those family groups on our property. If we're not blowing them out of that preferred topographical bedding in different winds, we know where they're coming from. We know where they're going to. So we have bed to feed and feed to bed without disturbing the deer. That sets up our property for the rut. By not going into some of these tougher to get to stands until the rut, here, especially, the deer, some of these are harder to get to. The farther we have to walk through the deer's home turf and away from these areas of known human activity, the more we blow up the property. We want to save the property. We want to save that property so when the rut comes, we are housing doe groups. That's why bucks visit us during the rut. If we blow those does off our property, the bucks won't come see us during the rut. So, in a nutshell, that's the things we'd be looking at on this property to make this work. Areas of known human activity are significant here. That's how we're going to dictate our access and where we place our food plots. And then look at the topography to figure out different spots. Map out where the deer are going to be with the north wind, where with the south wind, where with an east wind, where with the west wind, because that's the process we take when we do it. That allows us to stack those layers up, identify areas to improve bedding, know areas that we have to avoid all the time and never go into because they're going to get us unless it's that gopher broke spot during the rut, gopher broke spot. And that's how we'd approach this property and put together. So this might be enough to get you going. Love this over here. You can see this where they thin these pines out. If these are maintained and they're harvesting the pine bedding and stuff out of there, that's a good dead spot for our wind to blow too. Like in this stand here, if it was out of the west and the deer aren't bedding here and they're not traveling through here because the age of this pine plantation is so old that there's not a lot of understory because of the herbicides. If there's no food cover, anything for the deer, it's just a dead zone for them, similar to this yard, this yard, this yard. Those things would be factored in as well. So I like this piece. You got a lot of potential. There's enough there's enough to work with here that you can set up a lot of bed to feed and feed to bed strategies to preserve this property for the rut, and then identify those lines of movement that those bucks will be traveling different winds, because we know where those family groups are going to bed with this topography. So if this gets you home, great. If not, if you'd like us to do a skeleton plan or a whole comprehensive plan, go ahead and get a hold of Sean, ask him any questions, and he'll kind of lay out what that would entail. So good luck with this piece.